Rafe had never liked silence, but tonight the silence felt different. The rain outside was steady, tapping against the windows like soft fingers. He was alone in the old house on Rainfall Road, a place he had moved into only 2 days ago. Around midnight, as he was unpacking boxes, he heard something unusual. A slow, careful footstep coming from upstairs. Rafe froze. The house was supposed to be empty. No neighbors, no pets, no one else had a key. He held his breath and listened again. Another step. Then another, softer this time, as if someone didn't want to be heard. Rafe whispered to himself, "I'm not alone in here." Rafe's heart pounded in his chest. He wanted to run, but his feet felt glued to the floor. The footsteps stopped for a moment, and a faint whisper floated through the darkness. "Rafe, I'm here." He spun around, trying to find the source, but the living room was empty. The shadows of the furniture stretched and twisted under the dim light of his phone. A cold breeze brushed past him, though the windows were closed. His phone buzzed again. Another message from an unknown number. "Don't go upstairs." Rafe's hand shook as he read the message. He knew he should stay calm, but every instinct screamed to leave the house. The staircase leading upstairs seemed longer than before, shadowed and twisting. He took a cautious step forward. Each creak of the wooden floor beneath his feet echoed like a warning. The whisper returned, closer this time, almost right behind him. "Don't turn around." Rafe froze, every hair on his neck standing up. He could feel a presence, something watching, just beyond the edge of the dim light. Summoning all his courage, Rafe forced himself to move. Step by step, he climbed the staircase, eyes fixed on the dark hallway above. The whispering grew louder, more urgent, echoing through the empty house. As he reached the top, a door slowly creaked open at the end of the hall, though he was sure all doors were closed. A chill ran down his spine. Something was waiting inside. Rafe took a deep breath and whispered, "Who's there?" The room remained silent. But a shadow shifted across the floor, too large to be human. Rafe's phone slipped from his hands, clattering to the floor. The shadow moved closer, stretching along the walls, but no sound came from it, just a heavy, oppressive presence. He backed away slowly, heart hammering, and tripped over a rug. The shadow froze for a moment, then seemed to grow taller, its edges flickering like smoke. A cold voice, almost a hiss, filled the hallway. "You shouldn't have come here." Rafe swallowed hard, trying to find his courage, but his body refused to move. Rafe's mind raced. He needed a plan, but panic clouded every thought. He glanced around the hallway for an escape, but the shadow blocked the only door. Suddenly, a faint light flickered from the far end of the hall. A small lantern, sitting on a table that hadn't been there before. The shadow recoiled slightly, as if afraid of the light. Rafe crept forward, keeping his eyes on the shifting darkness. Each step felt like walking through molasses, every heartbeat echoing in his ears. The whisper came again, urgent and close. "Leave, or join me." Rafe reached the table and grabbed the lantern. The light trembled in his hands, casting dancing shadows across the hallway. The dark shape hissed and retreated, melting into the corners of the walls. He realized the voice wasn't coming from the shadow anymore. It was inside his head, a cold, echoing whisper. "You can't escape." Rafe's legs moved on their own, carrying him toward the nearest door. He tried to open it, but it was locked. Panic surged. The whisper grew louder. Insistent, almost mocking. "Turn around, or stay forever." Rafe's breath came in short, sharp gasps. The hallway seemed to stretch endlessly before him, shadows twisting and crawling like living things. Every instinct screamed at him to run, but his feet felt heavy, rooted to the floor. Suddenly, a door at the far end slowly creaked open, revealing darkness deeper than the night outside. The whisper hissed urgently, "Step inside if you dare." Rafe's hand trembled as he reached for the doorknob. Every nerve in his body screamed to stop, but curiosity or madness pushed him forward. The door swung open with a groan, revealing a room shrouded in shadows. The air was icy, and the smell of damp wood filled Rafe's nose. He stepped inside cautiously, the lantern light barely piercing the darkness. Suddenly, the door slammed shut behind him. He spun around, heart racing. The shadow was there, stretching, shifting, and waiting. A low, guttural whisper echoed around the room. "Welcome, Rafe. I've been waiting for you." Rafe stumbled backward, tripping over the uneven floorboards. The shadow loomed closer, and the whisper became a hiss. "You cannot leave." He swung the lantern, its light flickering wildly. For a moment, the shadow recoiled, revealing a faint outline. It looked almost human, yet distorted, with elongated arms and hollow eyes. Rafe's mind raced. He needed a plan. Running blindly would be the worst choice. He whispered to himself, "Think, think, think." Rafe inched toward the far corner of the room, trying to stay as quiet as possible. Every creak of the wooden floor sounded like a shout in the dark. The shadow moved silently, almost gliding across the floor. Suddenly, his eyes caught something. A small, old key lying on a dusty table. He snatched it, hope surging through him. The whisper returned, louder this time. "Do you really think it'll help you, Rafe?" Rafe's hand shook as he held the key. The shadow seemed to pause, as if aware of his discovery. He glanced around the room, searching for a lock it might fit. In the corner, almost hidden by darkness, he saw a small door beneath the staircase. He rushed toward it, trying not to make a sound. The whisper followed, echoing in his mind. "Going so soon? You haven't seen everything yet." Rafe knelt before the small door and slid the key into the rusty lock. It turned with a creak, and the door slowly opened, revealing a narrow, dimly lit tunnel. The air smelled musty and old. He hesitated for a moment, listening. The whisper was silent now, but the shadow lingered near the doorway, watching. Summoning every ounce of courage, Rafe took a deep breath and stepped into the tunnel, the lantern casting trembling light on the walls. The tunnel seemed to stretch endlessly, the walls closing in with every step. Rafe's footsteps echoed loudly, each one sounding like a drum in the oppressive silence. Occasionally, the shadows from his lantern flickered and twisted, forming shapes that looked almost alive. He forced himself to keep moving, though fear clawed at his mind. A faint sound grew ahead, like whispers carried on the wind, urging him forward or warning him to turn back. Rafe clenched the lantern tightly and whispered to himself, "I have to keep going." As Rafe moved deeper into the tunnel, the air grew colder and his breath formed clouds in front of him. The whispers became clearer, almost like words he could understand. "Turn back or stay forever." The lantern flickered violently, casting long, twisted shadows on the walls. Rafe stumbled but caught himself, heart racing. Suddenly he saw a faint light at the end of the tunnel. Relief surged through him, but the whispers grew louder and more urgent, warning him not to trust what awaited ahead. Rafe quickened his pace toward the faint light. The tunnel seemed to stretch endlessly, the shadows writhing around him as if alive. Every step made the whispers louder, echoing in his mind, "You cannot escape." His lantern flickered again, and for a brief moment, he thought he saw eyes staring at him from the darkness. Summoning his courage, Rafe forced himself forward, whispering, "It has to be the way out. It has to be." The tunnel opened into a small chamber bathed in a pale, unnatural light. The walls were covered with strange symbols that seemed to move when he looked away. Rafe's heart pounded as he scanned the room. A shadow lingered at the tunnel entrance, watching silently. The whispers returned, more insistent than ever. "Step inside or remain in the dark forever." Rafe swallowed hard, gripping the lantern tightly, and took a cautious step forward into the chamber. Inside the chamber, the air felt heavier, almost suffocating. The symbols on the walls glowed faintly, casting eerie patterns across the floor. Rafe could feel the shadow's presence pressing against him from the tunnel behind. A soft, chilling voice whispered in his mind, "You've come far, but the choice is yours." Rafe's legs trembled, but he forced himself to keep moving toward the center of the room, where a small, ornate box rested on a pedestal, bathed in the pale light. Rafe approached the pedestal cautiously. The box was small, made of dark wood with intricate carvings. The whispers swirled around him, urging him to stop, yet curiosity pushed him forward. His fingers trembled as he lifted the lid. Inside, he found a small, glowing orb pulsating like a heartbeat. The light filled the room, and the shadow at the tunnel entrance hissed in fury. A voice echoed in his mind, soft but commanding. "Take it, if you dare." Rafe hesitated, staring at the glowing orb. The whispers around him grew frantic, warning him of danger. His instinct screamed to leave it alone, but something inside him urged him forward. He grasped the orb, and the room shuddered, as if alive. Shadows twisted violently, and the chilling voice echoed, "You have chosen. Now, face the consequences." Rafe felt a sudden pull, as if the orb was drawn into its light. Fear and awe battled within him, as the world around began to blur. The light from the orb enveloped Rafe, and he felt himself lifted off the ground. The shadows screamed and writhed around him, their forms twisting into grotesque shapes. Voices, countless and echoing, filled his mind. "You cannot escape. You belong to the darkness now." Rafe fought to pull away, but the orb's pull was relentless. His lantern fell to the floor, shattering, leaving only the pulsating light of the orb to guide him. Rafe's vision blurred as the orb's light grew blinding. The shadows around him twisted into forms he could barely recognize. Faces, hands, eyes, all reaching toward him. The whispering voices now screamed in unison. Submit or be lost forever. Summoning every ounce of strength, Rafe closed his eyes and focused on a single thought: escape. The orb pulsed violently, and for a moment, he felt a sharp tug, as if the darkness itself wanted to consume him. Suddenly, Rafe felt the pull lessen. He opened his eyes and saw a faint outline of a door in the distance, barely visible through the swirling shadows. With a burst of courage, he lunged toward it, the orb's light dimming slightly as he moved. The shadows shrieked, twisting and reaching, but he kept running, each step fueled by sheer desperation. The whispers now pleaded, almost begging, "Do not leave. You are ours." Rafe slammed into the door, fumbling with the handle as the shadows clawed at his back. The orb's light flickered violently, sending the chamber into near darkness. Finally, the door creaked open, and he stumbled into a narrow corridor that seemed safer, though still dimly lit. The whispers faded slightly, replaced by the sound of his own frantic breathing. He clutched the orb tightly, determined to find a way out, knowing the shadows were still close behind, watching, waiting. Rafe moved cautiously down the corridor, every step echoing softly. The orb pulsed in his hands, casting strange, moving shadows on the walls. He could feel the darkness lingering, always just behind him. A distant sound caught his attention, a faint creak, like footsteps approaching. He froze, holding his breath. The whispers returned, softer now, taunting him. "You cannot hide. You belong to us." Rafe forced himself forward, ignoring the fear that clawed at his mind. The corridor ended at a spiral staircase leading upward. Rafe's legs ached, but he climbed as quickly as he could, the orb lighting the narrow steps. The whispers followed, now echoing in every corner. "Higher! You cannot escape!" At the top, he emerged into a room with a single window. Moonlight spilled in, casting silver light across the floor. For the first time, he felt a small glimmer of hope. He rushed toward the window, praying it would lead him out of the nightmare. Rafe reached the window and tried to push it open. The orb in his hands pulsed fiercely as if reacting to the moonlight. Outside, he could see the roof of the house and the wet ground below. The shadows writhed behind him, angry and desperate, their whispers now a cacophony of rage. "Do not escape. You cannot leave." Summoning all his strength, Rafe pushed harder, the window finally giving way. A cold wind rushed in, filling the room with the scent of rain and freedom. Rafe climbed out onto the roof, the rain soaking him instantly. The orb's glow dimmed under the moonlight, and the shadows recoiled, hesitant to leave the chamber. He took a deep breath, heart racing, and carefully climbed down the side of the house. The whispers faded, replaced by the steady sound of rain and the distant rumble of thunder. Finally on the ground, Rafe ran toward the edge of the forest, clutching the orb tightly, knowing that the nightmare was behind him. At least for now. Rafe paused at the edge of the forest, rain dripping from his hair and clothes. The orb pulsed faintly in his hands, a reminder of the darkness he had escaped. Behind him, the house loomed, silent and empty once more. The shadows were gone, but the memory of their whispers lingered in his mind. He whispered to himself, "I survived, but I'll never forget." The night stretched ahead, filled with rain, mist, and the promise of safety. For now.